There are shadows in this world that time cannot erase. They linger in the corners of our minds, whispering tales of darkness and forbidden desires. My creation, Count Dracula, is one such shadow, a spectre born of ancient fears and historical truths. His name has become a byword for terror, a symbol of the undead that stalks the night, forever seeking the warmth of life it can no longer possess. Why does this creature of the dark persist? Why does his legend refuse to crumble into dust like the ancient coffins in which he sleeps? His story is more than a simple fright. It is a mirror reflecting the deepest parts of the human soul, a chilling exploration of our own mortality. His legacy endures because the questions he raises are eternal. The tale of Dracula is not merely a figment of my imagination, it is woven with threads of history, folklore, and the very real horrors perpetrated by a man of flesh and blood. This creature can command the wolf and the storm. He promises eternal life at the cost of one's soul, a composite of nightmares. To understand the monster, one must first understand the man. Long before my count haunted the mists of Transylvania, there lived a prince in the heart of Wallachia, a region now part of modern Romania. He was born in the 15th century, a time of brutal conflict and constant turmoil. His name was Vlad III, but he was known by another more formidable title, Dracula. This was not a name of terror in his time, but one of lineage. His father, Vlad II, belonged to a chivalric order, the Order of the Dragon, created to defend Christianity against the encroaching Ottoman Empire. In the Romanian tongue, Dracul meant the dragon. Thus, Vlad III became Dracula, the son of the dragon, a title of honor that would later curdle into one of dread. Vlad's life was forged in the crucible of war and political intrigue. His cruelty was not born of madness, but of a cold, calculated strategy for survival and control. As a boy, he and his brother were given as political hostages to the Ottoman Sultan. This harsh tutelage shaped him into the ruthless leader he would become. When he finally ascended to the throne of Wallachia, he was surrounded by enemies, foreign invaders, treacherous boyars. He resolved to secure his rule with an iron fist, making it clear that any opposition would be met with unspeakable retribution. His title of Count, as I styled him in my novel, was a creative liberty meant to evoke a sense of ancient, landed aristocracy for my English readers. In reality, he was a voivoda, a prince, and military leader. His reputation for cruelty became legendary across Europe, spread by tales from merchants and the newly invented printing press, which disseminated pamphlets detailing his horrific deeds. He sought to impose order through fear, believing that only through absolute authority could he protect his small principality from being swallowed by the mighty empires surrounding it. His actions, while monstrous, were those of a desperate ruler clinging to power in a savage world, a dark patriot defending his homeland by any means necessary. It was this brutal pragmatism that earned him his most infamous moniker, Vlad the Impaler. This was no exaggeration. Impalement was his preferred method of execution, a slow and agonizing death designed to serve as a terrifying warning. My novel Dracula is not told from a single perspective, but is instead a collection of documents, journal entries, letters, ship's logs, newspaper clippings. This epistolary format was chosen deliberately to create a sense of mounting dread and urgent reality, as if the reader is piecing together the terrible truth alongside the characters. The story begins with a young English solicitor, Jonathan Harker, who travels to the remote Carpathian mountains. His task is to finalize a real estate transaction with a noble client, a certain Count Dracula. At first, Jonathan is impressed by the Count's old-world charm and intelligence, but he soon finds himself a prisoner in the decaying labyrinthine castle. As Jonathan's diary entries grow more frantic, he uncovers the horrifying truth about his host. The Count is not human, he is a creature of the night, a vampire who has survived for centuries by drinking the blood of the living. He sleeps in a coffin filled with his native soil. He possesses supernatural strength, the ability to command nocturnal animals, the power to transform into mist or a bat. Jonathan witnesses unspeakable horrors, including the Count crawling down the castle walls like a lizard, and the sight of his 3 spectral brides who hunger for Jonathan's own blood. He realizes with dawning terror that the Count's property purchase in London is not for leisure. It is the opening move in an invasion, a plan to unleash his ancient curse upon the bustling modern world. After a harrowing escape, Jonathan returns to England a broken man, his mind scarred by what he has witnessed. Meanwhile, the Count arrives in London aboard the doomed ship Demeter, its crew having mysteriously vanished one by one during the voyage. He begins to prey upon the innocent, his first victim being the beautiful and vibrant Lucy Westenra. Her mysterious illness baffles her doctors until Dr. John Seward calls upon his mentor, Professor Abraham Van Helsing, and the unbelievable truth begins to emerge. The geography of my tale is a study in contrasts: the ancient, the modern, the superstitious, the rational. The story is anchored in two primary locations, each representing a different world. The first is Transylvania, a realm outside of time, a wild and mystical place where the past is not dead but slumbers fitfully. Towering mountains, deep forests, and howling wolves, where every peasant's whisper is filled with folklore and fear. The very air seems thick with superstition. Jonathan Harker's journey eastward is a journey backward in time, away from the logical, ordered world of Victorian England, and into a maelstrom of primeval darkness where all nightmares are real. Castle Dracula itself is the heart of this dark land. It is not merely a building but a physical manifestation of the Count's own decaying soul. It is a fortress of dread, perched precariously on the edge of a great precipice, a symbol of dominance and isolation. Its crumbling stones, dust-choked corridors, and locked doors represent a glorious but violent past that has fallen into ruin. Yet within this decay there is a terrible vitality. The castle is a predator's lair, a place where the laws of God and man no longer apply. It is from this ancient seat of power that Dracula launches his assault on the modern world, carrying with him the soil and sins of his homeland. In stark opposition to Transylvania stands London, the pulsing heart of the British Empire and the epitome of 19th century modernity. It is a city of science, industry, and progress, a metropolis teeming with millions of souls who believe themselves masters of their own destiny. I chose London as Dracula's destination precisely for this reason. It represents the ultimate challenge and the ultimate prize. If the Count can establish his reign of terror here, then no corner of the globe is safe. At its core, my story is an exploration of the great and terrible themes that have plagued the human heart since time immemorial. The most primal of these is fear. Dracula is the embodiment of what we fear in the dark, the unknown that lurks just beyond the circle of our campfire light. He represents a loss of control, an invasion of the home, the self. His ability to enter a room unbidden, to mesmerize his victims, to corrupt them from within taps into our deepest anxieties about violation and personal security. He is not a monster that can be simply fought with brute force. He is a contagion, a spiritual sickness that turns loved ones into monstrous echoes of their former selves, making the fear he inspires both personal and profound. Flowing directly from this fear is the theme of immortality, the dark prize that the Count both possesses and offers. In a mortal world, the promise of eternal life is the ultimate temptation. Yet Dracula's immortality is a curse, not a gift. It is a cold, lonely existence, forever bound to a predatory need for blood, severed from the warmth of the sun, severed from the grace of God. He is a tragic figure in this respect, a being trapped in an endless cycle of hunger and solitude. His offer to his victims, particularly to Lucy, Mina, is a devil's bargain. To trade a mortal soul, its capacity for love, redemption, for a timeless but damned existence as a creature of the night. The vampire's bite is portrayed not merely as an act of violence, but as an act of perverse intimacy, a dark ecstasy that is both terrifying and seductive. This speaks to the Victorian era's repressed anxieties about sexuality and the new woman who challenged traditional roles. The Count is a figure of dangerous, predatory charisma. Why does my creation refuse to die? What is it about this nobleman from the Carpathians that allows his dark legacy to endure, to sink its teeth into the imagination of one generation after another? The answer, I believe, lies not in the monster, but in ourselves. Dracula is more than a character. He is an archetype, a vessel into which we pour our deepest societal and personal anxieties. He is the eternal outsider, the predator who threatens our established order. He is the embodiment of plague, the fear of a foreign contagion corrupting our homeland. He is the charismatic seducer who tempts us with forbidden knowledge and power. His form is mutable, but the fears he represents are timeless. Our unending fascination with the Count reveals a great deal about the human psyche. It shows our obsession with the boundaries of life and death, our secret yearning for power, and our simultaneous terror and attraction to the unknown. We are creatures of reason who live in a world we strive to control, yet we are drawn to stories that shatter that illusion. Dracula reminds us that for all our science and progress, there are forces that lie beyond our comprehension. He is the ultimate symbol of the past's power to haunt the present. By watching Van Helsing and his companions fight him, we reaffirm our own belief in community, faith, courage in the face of overwhelming darkness, a necessary ritual for a species that knows it is mortal. When I fashioned my vampire, I carefully selected his traits from a vast tapestry of European folklore, embellishing them to create a truly formidable adversary. The drinking of blood is central, for blood is the river of life. Immortality was essential. His aversion to sunlight and need for native soil became his key vulnerabilities. The crucifix and the holy wafer represent the power of faith and purity against a creature fundamentally unholy.